Mayor? Okay.
Ready to get started?
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. For the record, it's March 21st, 2024, and the time is 6:30. I'll begin with roll call. So, Council, when I call your name, please say here or present. Mayor Maxton.
Here.
Councilmember Stroop, who's not present. Councilmember Roden.
Present.
Alvera.
Here.
Kerner. Here. Parker.
Here.
And Menchow, who is not present. With 5 members of council present, a quorum is declared.
Thank you, Christina. Would everybody please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And thank you. And thanks. Welcome to everybody for attending tonight. We have a pretty good crowd for the council meeting tonight. We do live broadcast the meeting, and I know we had problems at the last meeting, and we have, so far we're doing well. Yeah, we're up. We had the company come out and take a look at it and believe our live broadcast is back up. And I would like to welcome everybody that is joining us by live broadcast also. If you do get an opportunity for the individuals that are here in the room, if you get an opportunity to speak as part of the meeting, I ask that all the comments are provided that if you'd use the podium up here. And the reason for that is if you make comments from your seats where you're at, those that are listening by live broadcast won't be able to hear the comments. And so when you do get the opportunity to speak, if you just introduce yourself and state if you're a Fair Oaks Ranch resident or not. And if you're an individual here briefing on part of the agenda item, just tell what company that you're here representing. All right? We'll move on to citizens to be heard. We do have several individuals that signed up as part of citizens to be heard. And I'll get on that, get with it. But I see that 3 of the individuals have signed up to talk about Dietz Elkhorn tonight. And I'll offer the opportunity, you can provide your comments during the citizens to be heard, or if you'd like to wait and provide your comments when that agenda item comes up so that we can discuss it at that time, you could wait till then. And first we'll start off with Nolan Keene.
My name is Nolan Keene. I'm a 20-year resident of Fair Oaks Ranch, living on Dewberry Ridge. And I guess I've had several things on my mind since the last town hall meeting, and I'm here tonight to talk about them. One of the things that the mayor mentioned about the good turnout that we had, I guess I take issue to that amount of turnout. I think we had 70 people, and to me, for a town of 10,000 people, that's pretty lame. You know, I just think we need more than that, and I don't know the younger generation, I don't know how we attract them, but that's the first thing. And I guess the next item was the statuary or the whatever we're going to come up with on an entrance to on Fair Oaks Ranch somewhere around Les Pfeiffer Road. I had talked to Bobby Bailly that evening, and I said, you know, we need some more color here. And he said, well, we had looked at that, but we dismissed it. So, you know, to me, I guess the steers, the cows, it's more of the same old type stuff, I guess. And, you know, we need to have something where you turn off the I-10 access road, come in, and really something that'll set Fair Oaks Ranch apart. And I guess I was reminded of that when I went over to the new VIA Transit Center on the other side of I-10. There's a ceramic artist named Diana Kersey that does a lot of commercial work in San Antonio for the city of San Antonio along the Riverwalk. And she has a statuary there by one of the waiting stations. And and really a lot of multicolor. And then up at the top, there's an open space, and they've got a golden cheek warbler there, which is common in this part of the woods and hill country. And they have it lit at night. I've been over there twice at night. One time it was lit, and it's spectacular, believe me. And it's spectacular in the sunlight when you visit there, but something along those lines, I just, I can't accept just dismissing the color thing. Because if you're coming into Fort Stockton on I-10, you look off to your left, and you see that the steer and the horses and stuff like that, statuary out on the prairie, that's one thing, but it fits there. And I guess the other thing is the community center. I guess I'm getting into the game late. I don't know, maybe the last card has already been played, but I guess that question, do we need one? Do we need one? I mean, particularly when we have 70 people at a town hall meeting, and I don't know, I'm sure we pay some amount to Spring Creek Methodist Church, but I guess I'm looking to save money, and anyway, that's I guess about it. I've talked to several of you. I knew I couldn't get by without mentioning bicycle trails this evening. We had a kickoff meeting last fall, and we were really beginning to get some traction, and probably going to be talking to the city manager about finding out some dates that this facility is available and where we can meet again, because we're picking up an individual from VIA. We already have, Bear County, HEB, Bernie ISD, and I think we're, I'm really enthused about what Jonathan Collins is doing with the Lemon Creek Ranch development, and he's taken us down on the floodplain. And, for those of you who may not be familiar with what I'm talking about, we're proposing a trail along Balcones Creek on the Bear County side that would run from Old Fred under I-10 past VIA, past the Alamo College's campus, and all the way dead end at Bernie Stage Road. And of course, we're calling it the Texas Education Trail, and for good reason, the Alamo Colleges, but also there's a new elementary school going in over at Corley Farms. Rich Sena tells me that they've reached agreement on 70 acres. Both of those are in Kendall County. But the fact is, they could be reached by some offshoot trail. So, Bernie, I don't know if this is in Bernie, whether it be their responsibility or Kendall County Commissioners, but we could really, I think, have the second phase of that, we would want to bring a trail into Fair Oaks Ranch and hook up with another trail that comes down from Cibolo Creek, or hook up with Cibolo Creek. And I think, it's probably not going to occur in my lifetime, but I think we could be the envy of the hill country, the state, and maybe even the nation for that matter, because multi-purpose trail is really the answer in the 21st century here for education, transportation, and a number of other, shopping for sure, and just exercise. So that's about it. You'll hear more from me on that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And next I have is Michelle McKendrick.
I'd like to wait until we
Okay.
get to that part.
And I apologize, I can't read the last name. Pamela Pauls?
I will wait until.
Okay. And did I have your last name correct? Polk. And last was Al Velo?
Yeah, and I'll wait also.
Okay. And your last name, V-E-L-O? Okay, thanks, sir. And was there anybody else here that didn't get an opportunity to sign up that would like to speak as part of citizens to be heard? I did have excuse me, I did have one letter that was submitted and asked to be read as part of Citizens to be heard. The letter is from Nathan Britt, and he is a Fair Oaks Ranch resident. And he titles it, "To the City of Fair Oaks Ranch City Council. I apologize for my inability to be there. I coach my son's baseball team, and we have our first game tonight. My name is Nathan Britt, and I am a resident of Fair Oaks Ranch and the president of the Woods of the Fair Oaks HOA. This letter is not an official action of our HOA, but many of our community feel this way. The reason for my letter is to again protest and question the closure of the Noble Ark and Dietz Elkhorn intersection. In my opinion, it has been closed for the sole reason that a few people on that street do not want people on their street. All the reasons for the closure have been debunked or have not been given other than people stating their beliefs. There, in my research, has been no credible evidence to support of the closure. In my talks with the mayor, I was told first the city told Bernie ISD Transportation that buses for Van Rob were no longer allowed on Noble Ark. The next week, the mayor told me that the city did not tell BISD Transportation that, but the transportation department told the city that they were not going to use the road. After contacting the BISD Transportation office, I was told that they were very much against the closure, and the only reason they were using the other route was that residents were blocking the buses with their cars. That seems like a problem with the citizens blocking the road, not a bus problem. Should the police not have been used to keep people from blocking the public roads? Another fact that was given is that buses were speeding on the roads in question. This has been proven false by a simple call to BISD Transportation. Every report of speeding was investigated, and not one instance of speeding was found. No bus was clocked on their internal or external recordings at any speed over 25 miles per hour on the roads in question. Why then are the Van Rob school buses not allowed on that road, but others are? The reason is plain. The homeowners on that road believe the road is theirs, but the facts are it is not. The issue that was brought up is safety. The street being public and those homeowners choosing to live there is the first issue I have with that line of thinking. They had a choice in where they live and chose to live on a public street. That is a street that everyone should be able to use. We all pay through our taxes for that road and the access. If speeding is the issue, I would like to see the records of police action on that road. Is it a higher percentage than speeding violations on any other road in Fair Oaks? I have asked and not received that information, but I assume that the percentages are not different or lower for the streets in question. But I move on from the safety issue. The safety of every child at Van Rob is being put in jeopardy because of this road closure. The only two ways to Van Rob are stacked with traffic every day now because of the closure. If your child's life depends on access, would you risk a closure that adds seconds or minutes to their aid? The answer is no. Second can cost lives, and that is what the closure is doing. I have children at Van Rob. I know that the school fought for this for safety reasons, but the city putting our children at risk anyways, why? No one has answered that. If safety is the issue, why are the children of the few homes where people are lobbying for the closure more important or carrying more weight than every child and employee at Van Rob? The process of this closure seems very off to me. If there is a speeding issue, would not the first option be to put a stop sign at the intersection of Noble Ark and Calcella Drive? It seems to me that the most dramatic option should be the first. From a fiscal standpoint, a stop sign seems the most affordable option. As far as the argument of the road was not built for that, 100% not true, because it was built just as that. The road was built as an access from the Fair Oaks Parkway to Dietz Elkhorn. There is no refuting that because it is there and built as that. To say a road was not built to be used is just silly and a terrible argument. The statement I heard at the last council meeting that I was able to attend that caught my ears, the statement that seems to ring true to the reason for the closure. People who are complaining about the road are doing so because they just don't want people on their streets. That is not a reason to close a public street. The public road in question are not their streets, they are all of ours. My last point for this letter is to point out a few things. If the residents on that street want to make it private, they should purchase the streets from the city and gate or close them off at their cost. Many other communities in Fair Oaks Ranch have done this. I live in a gated community. We are responsible for our streets. We can do with them as we please, but we are financially responsible for them. Unless the few residents who are complaining want to pay for their own streets, they should not attempt to limit the use of said streets for the rest of the community. They are not private streets, so many people living there should not be able to decide on the use of these public streets. Thank you for your time. I would love to continue this discussion with anyone on the board. Please reach out to me when you are able. Signed, Nathan Britt. And that completes our citizens and guest forum for tonight. And with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda for tonight. And we have 3 items on the consent agenda. First is the approval of the February 27th, 2024 Town Hall meeting minutes. Second is approval of the March 7th, 2024 regular City Council meeting minutes. And last is the approval of Councilmember Munchau's absence from the June 20th, 2024 regular City Council meeting. Is there any council member that would like to remove any of the consent items to consideration? With that, then, could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
And I second.
From Scott, and then a second from Laura. All in favor of approval of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Thank you all. And we have several consideration items on the agenda tonight. We'll start off with our first one, which is the consideration and possible action approving a resolution of the City of Fair Oaks Ranch, Texas, authorizing a First Amendment to the 2008 water supply agreement between the City of Fair Oaks Ranch and First Baptist Church at Fair Oaks Ranch for the reservation of water and other related matters, and authorize the city manager to execute the First Amendment. And we have several of these amendments, and Carol, you're going to lead us through all of these?
Yes, I will.
All
Thank
right.
you. Good evening, Council. Carol Van Zant, Assistant City Manager. So, what we have tonight for your consideration is 5 amendments to the various 2008 water supply agreements that we have in place right now. Just by way of background, in July 2006, San Antonio released approximately 3,200 acres of their ETJ to us. Realizing that there would be a need for water service in this area in the future, we increased our water reservation allocation with GBRA. In September 2008, the city entered into water supply agreements with various property owners in this area for the reservation of water for a term of 15 years. In August 23, it was apparent that some of the properties would not be fully developed by the end of the agreement period. Accordingly, City Council authorized a 6-month extension, allowing staff and the property owners an opportunity to review the agreements, negotiate changes, and develop an amendment to the agreements. So, tonight for your consideration are those amendments. If you would like, I will present the first one, which is the First Baptist Church, and then allow you to have a discussion and take your consideration and action before proceeding to the second one.
Please.
Thank you. Okay, so the first one for you tonight for your consideration is the First Baptist Church at Fair Oaks Ranch. The only change to their agreement is a new 15-year term, which would expire in March 2039.
Any questions from council? Any questions from anyone here tonight? And from council, could I get a motion to approve a resolution authorizing a First Amendment to the 2008 water supply agreement between the City of Fair Oaks Ranch and the First Baptist Church at Fair Oaks Ranch? From Keith, and a second.
I'll second.
Ruben, any other discussion from council? Then with the motion on the table, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Cibolo Creek,
Perfect. Cibolo Creek, the only amendment that they are requesting is a new 10-year term, which would thus expire on March 2034. All other provisions stand.
any questions from council? Any questions from anyone here tonight on the amendment for the Cibolo Creek Community Church? Could I get a motion to approve a resolution authorizing a First Amendment to the 2008 water supply agreement between the City of Fair Oaks Ranch and Cibolo Creek Community Church?
So moved.
Laura, and a second.
I'll second.
Ruben, any other discussion from council? Motion on the table, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Ralph Fair LLC,
Ralph Fair LLC, or otherwise known as the Enclave Subdivision on Ralph Fair Road, their amendment is just a new 15-year term expiring March 2039.
any questions? Any questions from anyone here tonight? Can I get a motion to approve a resolution authorizing a First Amendment to the 2008 water supply agreement between the City of Fair Oaks Ranch and Ralph Fair LLC?
So moved.
Keith, and a second.
Second.
Scott, any other discussion from council? With the motion on the table, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. Then we'll move on to Oak Bend Forest LC.
Correct, and it is more commonly known as Oak Bend Estates. I think we have talked about it when we've zoned, done plating. But it is Oak Bend Forest is the landowner, and again, this one is on Ralph Fair Road. Their amendment is slightly different. In addition to a new 15-year term expiring March 2013, they would like to reduce their water reservation from the 130 that is in the agreement existing today to 110. The reason for this reduction is the desire to protect two very important karst features on that property. In addition to protecting those karst features, there has to be some realignment of the streets, and they have offered to provide an emergency vehicle exit. Their original concept, their original plan does not show that secondary, but they are very happy to put that in. Thus, it's having a reduction in lots to 110. And tonight with us, we have Steve Von Huff and Ashley Fairmont, the attorney who has worked with our attorney on developing this amendment. They're here tonight if you have any questions to ask of them.
Or any additional comments that need to be made on their behalf?
No,
Nope. Okay. Any questions from council? Any questions from anyone here tonight? Then can I get a motion to approve a resolution authorizing a First Amendment to the 2008 water supply agreement between the City of Fair Oaks Ranch and Oak Bend Forest LC? Moved. From Scott, and a second.
Second.
From Laura. Any other discussion from council? Motion on the table, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. And then Greenland Ventures.
Greenland Ventures, as you all know, is Stone Creek Ranch up on Ammon Road. They also would like a new 15-year term expiring March 2039, but in addition to that 15-year term, they would like a consideration of increasing their water reservation by 9. The agreement originally called for 238 developed lots or water connections. With the 9, it would give them a total of 247. What has occurred was they are in their final platting process of the development, and they have a piece of property, undeveloped land, that could accommodate 9 more homes, and it would complete that development as a whole. And they would be the same mirrored concept that they have now, 1 acre plus lots for a single-family home. So this amendment includes and recognizes the authorization of the additional 9 LUEs. The city has it. We have the capacity for it, so we already included it in the amendment for your consideration. Thank you.
Questions? Questions from anyone here tonight? Then can I get a motion to approve a resolution authorizing a First Amendment to the 2008 Water Supply Agreement between the City of Fair Oaks Ranch and Greenland Ventures?
So move.
Ruben?
Second.
Keith? Any other discussion from council? Motion on the table. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
We've moved on to item 12 on the agenda. And the next consideration item is the consideration and the possible action to approve a resolution amending the planning and zoning rules of procedures.
Good evening,
Christina.
Council. Christina, City Secretary. I'm here tonight to speak to you about recommended changes to the P&Z Rules of Procedure, and I refer to pages 108 to 112 in your agenda packet. Last week, on March 14th, the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously agreed to the following recommendations. Firstly is Rule 2.2, and this was brought basically for cleanup, as this language that's crossed out in the middle of the screen before you was originally created when the P&Z was being initiated, and talks about their staggering of terms in order to get the commission members on board. So as this is no longer necessary, staff recommends removing this from the document. The second, and in my opinion, the most important rule change is Rule 10.3, which is on the screen. This particular rule specifies that any changes to P&Z meetings has to be ratified by City Council. And that technically means that P&Z does not have the ability to change any of their meetings. Say if they are trying to plan the next meeting and they discover there's no quorum, or even if there's nothing on the agenda. So I'm coming to you to ask if you would consider removing that requirement, and by removing that language there. The other complicating factor is that by the time that they realize this, council only meets twice a month, and it really hinders their ability to make any changes. So I provided a proposed motion, and it's on the screen, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
I have one question, but I'm not going to hold up the vote based on the answer, just maybe for future potential review. In Exhibit A, Section 2.2, the one that we're removing the staggered,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to understand if the requirement for members to be real property owners is consistent with our ordinance. I'm just curious, because being very close to the boards and commissions process, I don't remember that being a requirement, or for us even checking when we look for P&Z members. So I'm not going to hold it up now, but I do want that to be reviewed
Okay.
and potentially removed if that is not required by ordinance.
Catch? Any other questions? Any questions from anyone here tonight? Then can I get a motion to approve a resolution amending the P&Z Rules of Procedure as followed by removing the original staggered term language in the Rule 2.2 and removing the requirement that City Council ratify the P and Z meeting date changes in Rule 10.3.
So move.
From Ruben, and a second.
Second.
Keith? Any other discussion from council? With the motion on the table, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
The next item that we have on the agenda tonight is the approval of a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application for the state and local cybersecurity grant program, authorizing the city manager to execute all documents in connection therewith. And Brian, you going to lead us through this one?
Yes. Evening, Council. Brian Lejeune, IT Manager. Just a quick little overview. The state and local cybersecurity grant program is something that the state provided with money from federal sources. What we're looking at is an 80-20 submission for that. So we'd be providing 20%, and they'd be providing the rest of the 80%. This would be for covering our vulnerability assessment and penetration test that we had scheduled for this fiscal year. If we accepted this, or I'm sorry, if we were provided this grant, then we would be able to forego that, because part of the requirements of that grant would be to not have the money available until September 1st. So we would just push that until next fiscal year, beginning of next fiscal year. Some of the things leading up to this that we had to submit for, we had to complete the National Cybersecurity Review to MSISAC. We had to subscribe to various free services through CISA, the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency. We already adhered to all of the HB 3834 requirements for cybersecurity training, and we were already a member of the Texas Information Sharing and Analysis Center. So with that being said, I brought forth a resolution for consideration in accepting that grant.
Any questions from, go ahead.
The resolution to accept the grant or just to authorize submission to request the grant?
I'm sorry, yes, thank you.
Okay.
It is for authorizing the acceptance of that grant money.
Authorize submission, the application?
Yes, you're right.
Okay.
Thank
Because we don't decide if we win the grant or not.
Correct. It's
Okay.
the state.
Anybody else?
So if we get this grant, then this money could go back into the budget for other purposes?
That's correct.
The 80%? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
In the packet, it says that if selected, the city would delay security assessments already planned until the beginning of 2024-25. Is there any, I'm assuming there's no risk involved with delaying those assessments?
We'll be okay with delaying that until next fiscal year.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What do
Ma'am,
It's-
Yeah, if you
yeah, would you mind?
that way
you
everyone
stand
can
there
hear.
just to ask?
I need you to speak from the microphone. That way
Introduce
everybody.
yourself.
My name is Michelle McKendrick. I'm a resident here in Country Club Place. My question to you is, what exactly is this cyber grant going to be used for? How does it affect the citizens that live here? What exactly is it going to do? How does it affect us?
Yeah, thank you. Good question. So this is for our vulnerability assessment. So that's being able to look at our network and see what vulnerabilities we may have that we need to protect and better safeguard citizen and resident data.
In the whole area?
It's for all of our infrastructure.
Okay,
Yep,
thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions from anybody here tonight? Go ahead.
I think to fully answer the resident's question, the other way it will impact you is we will not have to use taxpayer money to pay for this vulnerability assessment. We'd be using grant money instead, which will allow us to use that taxpayer money for something else.
Yep.
Anybody else? You can get a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application for the state and local cybersecurity grant program and authorizing the city manager to execute all documents in connection therewith.
So moved.
From Laura, and a second.
Second.
Scott, any other discussion from council? Motion on the table, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Thank you,
Thank you,
Brian.
council.
And the last consideration item that we have on the agenda for tonight is the consideration and the possible action accepting the FY 2022-2023 audit.
Oh, I took it, sorry.
Yes, thank you. I'm Summer Fleming, Director of Finance. And here tonight is Michael Del Toro, the Managing Partner with ABIP, who conducted the financial statement audit for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2023. I'll briefly highlight the audit process before turning it over to Michael to present the audit results. So the audit process really starts in August when the Finance Department begins preparing schedules and running reports for the auditor to make selections for data testing. Then audit field work, which is when the audit staff is here on site, usually takes 2 weeks in November. And during that time, they review our internal processes and policies, conduct interviews with personnel, and test selected data for compliance and accuracy. Once the fieldwork is completed, the financial statements are reviewed, year-end accounting entries are made, and the annual comprehensive financial report, or ACFR, is created. So guidelines for the ACFR are set by the Government Finance Officers Association and the Government Accounting Standards Board. So the report doesn't look identical to our typical budget to actual reports. It includes larger groupings of funds as well as items not seen in the budget, such as long-term liabilities and depreciation. And then lastly, I'd like to mention that the Audit Committee met with Michael earlier this week to review the report and had the opportunity to ask questions and discuss any concerns without management present. So I'll let Michael present the audit results and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Summer. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Michael Del Toro, partner with ABIP. Here to present the report. As Summer mentioned, we did visit with the Audit Committee. I think it was it Monday? Monday was, yeah, so it's a long week. And we did go through a real comprehensive review of the report. This really is just to give you a brief overview of the reporting that we have within the document, the ACFR, and to give you an opportunity to ask questions related to the audit process and the audit reporting. We did conduct our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards of the United States. The purpose of that audit is to determine whether the financial statements are presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. In our audit report, which is about maybe 7 or 8 pages into the document, is our opinion letter with our letterhead. It does state that we did conduct that audit in accordance with those standards, and we do find the financial statements to be presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And we term that an unmodified opinion. It's a clean opinion. It's the highest level of assurance we can give on the financial statements. Through the audit process, we do a risk assessment. We do look at the city's processes and how they move money throughout the departments, how the budget's performed, as well as other controls related to financial reporting. We're happy to report that through that review, we did not identify any control weaknesses or deficiencies. If we did, that would have been listed in the management letter, which is that separate letter that is attached to the audit report. And so, again, we didn't have any comments or findings as a result of our audit procedures. So with that, I will open it up for questions that you may have as a council.
Basically, as we sat through the audit committee, very clean audit.
Yes. That was a question for me. Yes, it was clean audit. Yes, sir.
Any questions from anyone here tonight? And always important that we have somebody from outside the city that comes through and looks at our financial statements and ensures that we're doing things properly and accounting for the funds in a correct manner. And that's really what the audit has provided us. No other questions? Then could I get a motion to accept the fiscal year 2022, 2023 annual audit as presented by ABIP PC?
So moved.
From Keith,
Second.
from Laura. Any other discussion from council? Motion on the table. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Summer, and thank you, Michael. Thank you for being here tonight also. So we'll move on to our workshop items tonight. And the first item is the Dietz Elkhorn East reconstruction options. And we had 3 individuals that signed up to speak as part of this agenda item. And would it be okay if we went ahead and did the staff presentation first to hear the information? Okay. I didn't get it from everybody.
Well,
Yeah,
our
okay.
rules require that. So our rules have a set timeline, so just say.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Council, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Grant Watanabe, the Public Works Director for the city. There's some folks in the audience that I'd like to recognize. They include Steve Dean from Pate Dawson Engineers. Hi, Steve. And also in the back row, Joel Mesa. Joel Mesa is the project manager for Pate Dawson Engineers. So I'll be giving a presentation on the Dietz Elkhorn East reconstruction project options. Looking at the agenda, I'm going to start off with a quick project overview, review of the existing roadway section, and then we'll jump into the proposed typical section options. There are 4. Option 1 was reconstruction with wider shoulders, and that's the option that we've been talking about at past workshops as part of the upcoming bond election. There are also 3 other options. They include reconstruction with a shared use path, reconstruction with a sidewalk, and reconstruction with a combined use path. Toward the end of the presentation, I'll provide a summary and a cost comparison of all of these different options, and we'll talk about some next steps, and then I'll take any questions at that point. And just for awareness, as we get toward the end of the presentation, I am looking for some feedback as to which is the preferred option so that we can proceed with some of the upcoming design work. Yes, ma'am.
Just for background, I believe we had a town hall to cover this topic, right? Back in August of last year. Are you going to cover, as you give the options, which options were provided because feedback of residents asked for it? Or do you have that information with you?
In general, I can just quickly summarize how that input kind of led to the selection of options to explore further.
I think the background will be important before we start.
Okay.
Jump right into
You're
it.
correct. Back in August, we did host a town hall specifically for this project. We provided a survey, or rather 2 surveys at the time. One was a multimodal transportation survey, and the other was a Dietz Elkhorn specific project survey, where we asked our residents which additional elements that they would like to see incorporated, not only with the city, but specific for this project. I believe the majority wanted some type of transportation alternative, whether it was a combined use path, a shared use path, or a sidewalk incorporated, and that kind of led to council direction to further explore all of these options. So we have cost estimates for all of these options, and I have typical sections for each. As far as the exact numbers of which one was number 1, which is number 2, I don't remember that specifically right now.
Do you have an idea of how many people responded to the survey? I don't remember.
It was a total, just between the 2 surveys, it was like 1,400 responses.
Okay.
I think it was,
And we gave direction to staff based off of the mass majority of the 1,400 responses and what options they wanted to see.
yes.
Okay. Sorry, we can move on, sorry.
Okay, just quickly with the project overview, here we are looking at Dietz Elkhorn East between Fair Oaks Parkway and FM 3351. It's about a 1.2-mile stretch. The project is intended to reconstruct the stretch of Dietz, considering other transportation alternatives, including bike and pedestrian amenities along this stretch. And one of the guiding principles, I guess, was to try and avoid right-of-way acquisition. So as we look through these different 4 options, none of them include any right-of-way acquisition. So it's a tight right of way, but we tried to manage within it. First, starting with the existing road section. Again, as I mentioned before, it's 1.2 miles, but its width is about 28 to 29 feet. It includes two 11-foot lanes, a 5-foot paved shoulder on the north side, and a much smaller 1 to 2 foot shoulder on the south side. So in total, 28 to 29 feet, basically. And this is within a 60-foot right-of-way. So option 1 is something that we've seen before. It includes, again, two 11-foot lanes. It includes the 5-foot paved shoulder on the north side, but it increases the paved shoulder on the south side from that 1 to 2 feet to 5 foot. And what this does is allow golf carts, if they're in the travel lane, to pull over on the shoulder and let traffic behind them pass if they so choose to. In addition, it's possible that bikes could also use the shoulder as well. By pretty much maintaining the existing road profile, we would, to the max extent possible, use the existing bar ditches. We would replace some of the culverts, undersized culverts underneath, but with regrading, for the most part, we can reuse the existing bar ditches. It would be minimal impact to utilities, and the estimated construction cost for this option is $3.5 million. Option 2 was our shared use path option. Under this option, we have, again, the two 11-foot lanes. We maintain the 5-foot paved shoulders on each side of the travel lanes. It actually shows 5.5 because it includes a curb, so it's a little bit wider than 5 foot. But basically, 5-foot shoulders on each side. The minimum requirement for a shared use path, and that's to accommodate both bicyclists and pedestrians, is 10 feet. So you see a 10-foot shared use path on the north side. And whenever you have a shared use path, you also have to have a buffer distance between the shared use path and the travel lanes. And that minimum distance for the buffer zone is 4 feet. So in total, we increased the improvement width up to 47 feet under this option. Because of that, and because of the need to put that shared use path on the north side, we have to shift the center line of the road to the south. There's going to be very little room left for bar ditches. You can see this profile takes up 47 feet. The right-of-way is 60 feet. So we're going to have to remove those bar ditches, and we have to start construction of some underground storm drain systems to accommodate that. Estimated construction cost here is $7.1 million. All right, moving on to option 3. This is our sidewalk option. It's very similar to what you saw as option 2, except it's got a smaller sidewalk and a little bit of smaller shoulders there. Just quickly going over it, it's the two 11-foot lanes. We put 3-foot shoulders with the curb, so it's 3.5 feet on each side of the lanes. We have the 5-foot sidewalk. That's the minimum for ADA purposes, 5-foot sidewalk. And again, you have to have that 4-foot buffer. So in total, the planned width, improvement width under this option is 38 feet. And again, because we're putting that sidewalk on the north side, there is a need to shift the center line of the road southward. And again, you minimize the amount of room that's available for bar ditches. So again, this option would need underground storm drain. And the estimated cost for this option would be $6.1 million. And kind of in the graphic, you can see pedestrians using the sidewalks. Yes,
I have a question. So the difference between option 2 and option 3 is essentially option 2 has a multi-use path where bicyclists and runners will be on that path. And then this option, you would still have a path off to the side for walkers, but cyclists would have to use the road. Why would we then choose to have the shoulder where the cyclists would use be smaller in this scenario and be larger in the scenario where the cyclists aren't supposed to be on the road?
Yeah, we could definitely. This was kind of like the in-between option. We tried to
Okay.
minimize costs as best as we could.
I'm just trying to understand like why we would make it harder for cyclists in this option when they really can't go on that side use path, right, at this point.
Correct, they
Okay.
couldn't use a sidewalk.
Okay,
Right,
okay, I
right.
just wanted to make sure I understood what you were, this was just a kind of an in-between option.
Yes,
kind
ma'am.
of. Okay, thanks, okay.
Is there a quick question?
About the pavement that you're using, is this going to be quiet pavement or what is out there now?
Yeah, the question that's being asked is the pavement that's going to be used on this, is it quiet pavement similar to what we currently have or different?
Well, I've been on streets where you can't hardly hear your own tires.
Okay,
And then I've heard where, I mean, it's so loud. It's unbelievable, difference. And
all right.
it goes on the road.
Can you quickly address that?
Yeah, I think that noise factor is really related to condition, as the condition of the road degrades.
Can you get
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
So it's really about the condition of the pavement. Brand new pavement, brand new asphalt is nice and quiet, usually. I mean, as soon as you lay it down, it's beautiful, it looks black, and you drive on it and it's very, very quiet. Whenever you do a seal coat or one core surface treatment, which I believe y'all have in your, on y'all's road management plan, where you basically shoot asphalt down an emulsion, then you put rock on it, and you roll that in. That's usually a little bit louder, but any pavement, given enough time, will be loud. They do make a quiet pavement. They have it over in front, they have it on I-10 in front of the, was it Alon? It's a place there it's right across the street from Bass Pro Shops. They actually have a quiet pavement, but that was put in there for a special thing, and it's expensive, and that's why only TxDOT uses it.
Okay.
I have a follow-on question to that. So, it's probably for Grant, you could answer too.
Okay.
You might know. Would you say the noisiness of Dietz Elkhorn right now is driven predominantly because of the poor road, which is why we have to do a reconstruction to begin with, because we can't do maintenance? Or it is part of it?
You were tracking until you said because that's why we have to reconstruct the road. We're having to you can
Okay.
answer this question.
Okay, so,
You can answer if you want.
No, I was gonna agree, yes, the poor condition of the roadway is contributing to the noise factor.
Got it.
Once we reconstruct that road,
it will.
the
but
noise
it's
factor,
not
that's
the
supposed will
reason why we were
decrease.
constructing it.
It will be.
Yes, okay.
yes.
I probably stated that wrong, but when, we have already decided that road needs to be reconstructed because of
Correct.
the poor condition of the road, and that will then put new pavement down.
Which will
And
reduce
make,
the
which will reduce the noise. Got it,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
I agree. I misstated that. We weren't doing it specifically because it was noisy. It was because of the road. Okay.
All right. Oh,
I tell you what, can we finish with the presentation first, and then we'll get to all the questions? Thank you.
All right, the last option here is the combined use path option. The combined use path is intended to accommodate pedestrians, bicyclists, and golf carts. So as you can see, we've gotten rid of the shoulders because really no one's going to be using the shoulders anymore because they're all going to be using the combined use path. It's got the 11-foot lanes. It's got a curb and gutter, not a shoulder, but a curb and gutter along each side of the road. It's got a 14-foot combined use path, and it's also got that 4-foot buffer. So in total, 43 feet wide. Again, by putting that combined use path on the north side, we do have to shift the center line of the road southward. We also don't have enough room on each side to accommodate the bar ditches, so we'll have to get rid of that, and we'll have to go underground with a storm drain system. And the estimated cost here is $7 million. This slide here compares each of the 4 options, ranging from 3.5 million up to 7.1 million.
Hey, Grant, hold on a
Yes.
second.
Real quick, do options 2, 3, 4 move the footprint of the road closer to the homes on the north side of Dietz?
It would move the footprint of the roads farther away from the north side.
Okay. Well, but then you have the sidewalk or the shared use path. And so that portion will be
Closer to the homes on
closer.
the north side.
Otherwise, it would just be bar ditch or grass.
Correct.
Okay.
Again, the major contributing factors to this wide range of costs here is really comes down to the pavement section in width. As the width of the improvements gets wider and wider, it drives the cost higher. We're also, another big contributor is the underground storm drain system. And the last major contributor, not as big as the others, is just the amount of concrete that's needed for the sidewalk, shared use path, or the combined use path. For awareness, the total bond authorization does provide flexibility to consider all of these options. Last slide is next step. So I'm looking for direction from council, and I think we'll hear from our citizens to be heard before that occurs. But I would like to get some direction from council as which is the preferred option. Once we get that feedback, we'll continue to complete the schematic design in support of that preferred option. And should the voters approve the election in May, we'll negotiate the remaining cost of the engineering services to complete the full design, and then we'll bring back that worth authorization for your approval. Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Just one procedural question. So the bond election has enough money to support 4 different projects, but the reason why we're moving forward sooner as far as giving you an opinion on what we'd like to do is because this is the first one that we want to start. Is that correct?
Correct. Of
Okay.
the 4, this is the only one that's in design right now.
Got it. So we're already in design phase. We want to continue moving forward.
Correct.
Got
And
it.
the others haven't started the design phase yet.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Hey, Grant, when we're looking at these, and it's all the roads that are part of the general obligation bond, but specifically tonight, we're talking about Dietz Elkhorn. And the reason we're talking reconstruction, and I think we touched on it a little bit, is that there is no maintenance that we can do to this road. The road is damaged so far beyond repair that the only options we have are to leave as is or to reconstruct the road.
That's correct, Mayor.
And so that's why we've included it as part of the general obligation bond. And so in doing so, then we have several options that we want to look at how we reconstruct the road.
Yes, sir.
And then as part of that, we've looked at, and I believe it was up there, we're gonna, depending on the design, the bar ditches would either be reconstructed or there'd be a gutter system put in place. And then we would redo all the culverts that are underneath the road
That is correct.
during
Yes,
this
sir.
portion of it.
Mhm.
Okay,
Under any of the options, we would redo the culverts underneath the road.
all right. Anybody else?
No. No questions, just more when we have discussion.
Okay. And I tell you what, we'll start off with Michelle, if you want to
Yes.
provide your comments.
Can you put the slide back on that has the last option for, just so we can have a visual?
Yeah, that one or the
Awesome, yeah, because that's fine. You stated that 2, 3, and 4 would be on the north side. When you say the north side, is it on the far side over there, or is it on this side, like where we are now?
It'd be the far side on the other
I
side.
think
Which
this
is-
is all her.
Over there, on the other side?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. So with that being said, my house is in Country Club Place. I've lived there for 12 years. And within the past 5 years, with all of the growth, with all the new subdivisions, and Van Rob being opened, it's like a highway. My bedroom, 2 of my bedrooms are on that wall, and my swimming pool. I'm the only one in Country Club Place that has a swimming pool. And the cars are just speeding, big trucks. I mean, they're looking into my yard. I have had numerous occasions where myself and my neighbors, my children, were coming up to the stop sign to exit onto Deeks Elkhorn, be it turning right or turning left, and I have golf carts coming so fast towards me that they almost wreck into my car, because we have to roll out of Country Club Place, ease up onto Dietz Elkhorn to look both ways, whether I'm turning right or left. And they are coming full speed, and they slam on their brakes, you know, and it's a matter of time between they get plastered with one of either myself or my neighbors trying to exit Country Club Place. So to have golf carts on that road is very, very, very dangerous. People walking on that, I don't see a problem. Bicycles, I foresee bicycles being a problem, again, because we're exiting and they're gonna slam into our cars. It's a very, very big problem. Like I said, the noise is absolutely insane. So if you can do something about like you're saying, the pavement, if there is some type of magic fairy dust that we can put on there to reduce the noise, that would be great. We also had the options of speed bumps. And I remember seeing the survey, I did my survey, and I saw the statistics, and there was a lot of people saying that they wanted speed bumps, and that wasn't an option because of the speeding. I mean, it's getting out of control. We've got 2 elementaries on Dietz Elkhorn, and the speeding is just getting out of control. There's other neighborhoods like in San Antonio, Hollywood Park, the Dominion, where they have closed off access roads for thoroughfares and the big trucks and all that. We're not implementing that. We've got signs that say trucks are not allowed, but they're coming in and coming out. Now, I can see them using Fair Oaks Parkway because it's extremely wide and there's so much visual. But Dietz Elkhorn, I mean, you're darting people all day long. You're darting deer. Myself, the deer, they come from the country club, they cross through our residents of Country Club Place, and then over Dietz Elkhorn, and then into the neighborhoods. It's like clockwork for 12 years. Herds of them. And I've been watching the herds slow down. They get constantly hit, and I have dead deer, dead baby deer, mama deer, big bucks thrown in our yard in Country Club Place. Constant having to call the cops. Can you come get a deer? Can you come get a deer? Because these people are hauling buns from this direction going downhill, you know? I used to, when I lived out here, when I first moved out here, my daughter was in 3rd grade. She's now at Champion. She's a junior. And we used to ride our bicycles up and down Dietz Elkhorn. I took my grandbabies in the carriages on Dietz Elkhorn. Now you cannot pay me to walk on Dietz Elkhorn. I do not foresee bicycle riders on Dietz Elkhorn or wanting to be on Dietz Elkhorn at all. I do not foresee that. It's a tragedy. Golf carts, people are going in and out to cut through Country Club Place because we have a private alley that takes you to the golf course, and they know that, so they cut through our neighborhood. It's not a big deal to me because I'm a golfer, so I don't care. But to have that on my back window and my daughter's back window and our swimming pool, no. The noise is already loud as it is, and then to have that constant, it's going to be a nightmare. And I'm not the only house. All of my neighbors on Country Club Place, from our sign all the way down the hill, everybody's bedroom windows are on that wall. So you're practically putting them inside our yard.
So, of the options that are being presented, are you just saying that option 4 would be worst, or is there one of these that would work best for?
I don't know how to work this. Would you? Would you do that for me? Would you flip it to,
Yeah,
back to one? Just back to one? See, one is what we have now, right?
Close, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, one is fine, because that's what we already have.
Yeah, I was just trying to.
But yet the golf cart people are still using that like if it's a road, and they're going shoom by, and we have to like, we're sitting there, and then they come see us when they're coming over the hill, and then they're like, ah, you know, and they slam on their brakes.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And it's scary. Could I see option 2?
Do what?
Option 2, is that just for bicycles
ma'am.
and walkers?
It's been about 5 minutes. Could you wind up your comments?
You asked me a question, so I'm trying to explain.
Yeah, okay.
So number 2, I don't foresee that. It's wide. And number 3 was what? 3 was just walkers. That's safe. So
Okay.
this is what I have to say. And
So overall, it's a safety.
it's a safety concern. Yeah.
Noise issue.
It's a very loud noise issue. It's loud as it is right now. It's a safety concern for everybody coming out of Country Club Place. And our bedrooms are on those walls.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, ma'am. Next signed up was Pamela.
Now you see my face. I know I blew up Nextdoor app with all my questions. But it gave out a lot of voices about what was going on with this Dietz Elkhorn. I live right there. I'm short, thank you. I live right on the other side of that blue car. And I guess I've lived here for a little less than 10 years, moved up here from the coast. And every year it has gotten worse with the traffic. Now that we have HEB, it's unbelievable. Option 2, to me, is probably one of the better choices. I think if you put a stop sign right there at Noliasi, and you maybe have that sidewalk on the north side where there's less houses, from there to the parkway, you'd be much better off. There's, on the north side of Noliasi down, there's some houses right there, but the south side, well, which would it be? Anyway, I think that probably option 2 is your better choice. Stop signs would help slow down the traffic. Everybody that I talk to, speed bumps have been used. Battle Intense, it has speed bumps. Over in that direction, Battle Intense and Fairway, there's a 3-way stop sign. That all at least helps slow up the traffic. That's the biggest problem, is speeding. I had a police out there right in front of my house. They sat right in front of my house. And yes, they do stop a lot of cars. Goes to show, because they're speeding. I would not mind if it's just a 3-way stop. Speed bumps would be great. The sidewalk for just walkers would be great. I've almost been run over by golf carts on what we have now. I would not put a golf cart with pedestrians, no way. What else could I say? I'm just really concerned. I think that if you're going to do a reconstruction of the road, which I agree it does need it, there's a lot of bumpy places, then why not just try to do something a little extra? And I don't know if our voices are enough to make that happen. I have no clout in Fair Oaks, believe me. And what would it take
Well,
for a stop sign?
you are a resident and you are here speaking tonight, so
I am brave
you're
enough.
making your voice heard.
I am brave enough. But I appreciate you listening.
Of course. And Al, did you have comments you wanted to make also, or?
Yeah, my name's Al Velo, and I live in Cibolo Trails. We've lived in that area since 2005. Before I get on what I was going to talk about, when the discussion of what the road was going to be made of and how it could be quietened as a new road and everything, I had to remember Post Oak. Post Oak Road, if you're familiar with Post Oak, it's been replaced now the second time in less than, I think, 4 years. And I'm hoping whoever replaced it the time before now, and we don't know how long it's going to last this time, is different than who replaced it 2 or 3 years ago. Because if it's the same people, the city is getting screwed financially because the job that was done last time was inadequate, and that's why it's had to be replaced again. And we won't know how well it's been replaced until we drive on it for a couple more years.
Sir, you talked about Post Oak Trail being replaced twice. This is the first time that we've done a full reconstruction of the road.
Okay, full reconstruction. I mean,
And so whatever was done previously was a maintenance effort to a road that needed to be reconstructed.
yeah, well, it didn't last long.
That's why we're doing the full
That's why.
reconstruction of Dietzel.
Yeah,
I just wanted to clarify it.
okay, all right.
So that we now have a new road for Post Oak Trail.
Yeah, okay. And one of the individuals that was up here talking also mentioned about the concern about golf carts. In the different options up there, when you show the golf carts, one of the things that we don't see here is that those golf carts, when there's only one golf cart or one lane there, they're traveling both directions on one side of the road. And so you've got some real challenges, again, for pedestrians that don't see golf carts coming towards them, but golf carts approaching from the rear. So that's just a consideration. I'm going to read my comments here just to save time here as quickly as I can. My comments are primarily focused on the Battle Intense area and Keeneland Road, but I believe they have a bearing on the proposed detail corn expansion. First, I walk every morning between 6:30 and 7:30 on Battle Intense to Keeneland Road, out to FM 3351, and then I come back along the Cibolo Creek Nature Trail. If you're driving in this area during this time frame, you've probably seen me walking. I have a neon green shirt, and I walk that trail 6 days a week. I'm blessed, I'm retired now, so I can do that. First, I walk every morning, and during this time of walking, I see Chevy Suburbans, Ford F-150s, BMWs, RAV4s, 4Runners, Mercedes, Teslas, golf carts, ATVs, and school buses. Just about every kind of make of car or vehicle you can imagine traveling on those areas. One thing they all have in common, they're speeding. It's an exception when you see anybody doing 30 miles an hour on Keeneland Road, which is the posted speed limit. On Battle Intense, between the entry to Cibolo Trails housing area and the intersection of Battle Intense and Keeneland Road, there are 4 school bus stops, 2 on either side of the road. There have been numerous incidents of drivers ignoring school buses, stopped to pick up students only to have their stop signs ignored, and cars racing around them, racing around the buses. This has been happening in the recent past and continues to happen today. New warning signs on either side of these, on either end of the road on Battle Intense, alerting the drivers to slow down and be prepared to stop. They go unheeded. This past week, one of those signs was recently knocked down by a vehicle and has been replaced already. If this kind of disregard for posted speed limits and warnings is happening by Fair Oaks residents right now, I can only imagine what it'll be like when this area and Dietz Elkhorn become major thoroughfares for other traffic coming off of 3351. During the same time every morning, again, 6:30 to 7:30, I rarely see a police presence. Now, there used to be, about a year ago, when there was a lot of traffic on the neighborhood watch about what's going on Battle and Tents, where vehicles are passing school buses, there was a police presence, and it did help. But when it's the old cliche of when the cat's not around, the mice will play, and that's exactly what's going on again. So, it's amazing to me that you see drivers leave their individual housing areas very concerned in their own housing areas about the posted speed limits, but soon as they clear their housing areas, it's pedal to the metal up Keeneland, Battle and Tents to FM 3351. And the police, are probably overburdened right now as it is, but make those two areas thoroughfares now, and they could spend their full time issuing tickets for people speeding. They could do it right now in either area on Dietz Elkhorn, as has already been talked about by a couple of residents. But I can tell you, after 19 years of walking that route, Battle and Tents and Keeneland Road to 3351, down 3351, down to the creek, people are speeding. It is an exception that they're not. And again, there's not been a whole lot of police presence during that period of time to encourage people to slow down. Although I don't think this traffic in this area is much in the Dietz Elkhorn, I don't use that much. Probably will be now with the new HEB there. But I wouldn't be surprised if these two school zones on either end, at the Fair Oaks Elementary and then the other elementary, aren't already, and it sounds like they are, experiencing the same kind of problems, the speeding. If these two areas become future major thoroughfares for traffic coming off of 3351, and if the city council encourages and supports this endeavor by widening these areas and promoting greater vehicular traffic, meaning bicycles, trucks that are gonna ignore, again, signs that say no trucks down this area, or golf carts, or people walking their dogs, you're gonna find you're gonna have more problems. Hopefully we can be proactive and make intelligent decisions based on past experience of residents who live here. I'm kind of disappointed in the lack of residents that are here to speak up about this, because there's been a few here and they've echoed the same things that I see and I have seen for 19 years. But the future cost of these decisions will not only be measured in increased property tax dollars, but in potential injuries to property and to people. Lastly, our police officers have their hands full right now. I really believe that. I'm a supporter of our police. I think they do a great job. I just don't think there's enough of them. And particularly if we decide to make these two areas, and the Battle and Tents Keeneland Road will be kind of a fallback for people. If they ever do the widening of 3351 that they're talking about, I can guarantee you we're gonna see people turning off on Keeneland Road and down Dietz Elkhorn and down the Parkway, and we're gonna see that increased traffic. But to actually be a proponent of opening and widening these areas to more vehicular traffic, I think it's a bad idea. And that's just based on 19 years of watching traffic move back and forth through the area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Jamin Kazarian. I am a resident. I live on the north side of Dietz Elkhorn, just a few streets up. In full disclosure, I am a member of the Bond Advisory Committee and the Capital Improvement Advisory Committee. However, tonight my comments are as an individual. First of all, I'd like to extend appreciation to the council and Grant and all the staff for trying to navigate this difficult and challenging problem. Certainly the survey provides some information. Appreciate all the citizens that did speak tonight. To the short of it, I will address several points very quickly, though. So my personal take on it is that option one is a good option. And I know there was my wife is on Nextdoor. I'm not. I don't have any social media. I don't engage in anything like that. I know there was a question about there's no option zero, which is to replace the existing roadway, and I would say that's probably not advisable. Certainly providing the shoulders seems like a good option. So a few points I'd like to make is that it appears to me that Fair Oaks Parkway is a successful and good design. Certainly it's got a center divider, it's got shoulders on both sides, seems to be usable by everyone. You see people walking, you see people, bicycles, golf carts, whatever. It seems to work. And so really, I think the option one is the same concept, except it's not separated by a center median. And Grant, I would assume that the lanes are similar width and the shoulders are similar width as option one as compared to Fair Oaks Parkway? Yeah. Close enough? Yeah, okay. Within reason. So quick points are, I think that there should probably be another survey, but specific to costs, put it in context so that people understand, hey, sir, we want to have these options, but are they willing to pay twice what it would cost just to put in the shoulders at a option one as it's stated. The second one is that, and I appreciate the fact that people have talked about speeding, and actually I have a safety background and I'm well acquainted with this subject. So I would just tell you, this is from the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, is that 43% of drivers on the road think it's okay to go 15 miles an hour or more faster on the freeway as long as the conditions allow. And for surface streets in residential areas, they think 10 miles per hour is just fine. Obviously, our police department does a great job. I drive the speed limit because I don't want tickets. There's other people that aren't quite that motivated. So again, trying to fix behaviors is a really challenging and difficult thing. And whoever comes up with the idea that can fix it, great. But I don't believe that speed bumps and restrictions and those types of things are going to be successful. I drive Detail Corn I can't leave Fair Oaks pretty much without driving Detail Corn. It's the majority of my driving, coming into the city and leaving it. And I appreciate all the challenges that you're taking on, and just whatever decision you reach, it should be data driven. So we do know how many golf carts are registered within the city. We probably would know the locations of those using some type of mapping. And certainly, I think another survey to clarify that the options and the costs associated with that, seems to me that would be a good thing to do. I appreciate your listening to my comments.
Thanks, Chairman. Appreciate you being here tonight. Is there anybody else that had any comments? Sure.
I guess, Grant, if you could put, I guess, option one there. Yeah, that's I guess probably the least expensive, but I wonder what we would really be accomplishing there. I mean, and look at option 4. From a bicycling standpoint, I guess, and a pedestrian standpoint, and put all of that on the golf and the golf cart there, I think, fear for my safety. But and then let's look at option 3 again. That 5-foot path, is really, it's going to be useless for bicycles. It's less than what the federal recommendation is for trails, and typically along the Leon Creek or the Howard Peak Linear Greenway system, they have 8-foot trails, I think it is. So, I feel like the option 2 is one that, and I guess I question, does it really need to be a 10-foot path there? Even with cyclists, we could go down to 8 feet. It should? Okay. Well, and I guess the other thing is, I'm wondering, has any consideration been given or thought process about what we will do in the next phase from the Parkway over to westward to Van Rob, and if we choose option 2 here, would it be feasible to do option 2 from that point on? So, thank you.
Anybody else?
Can I say something again or not?
Can you, quick comment? Yes, ma'am, if you'd make it from the.
Sorry. Somebody had mentioned something about, the letter that you were reading from that man. He was talking about the safety about that street, Noble Lark or whatever the name. Okay, so I'm a substitute teacher. I go to all of the schools. And for the past 3 months, I've been working at Van Rob. And having that street closed is not going to cause safety issues to the children at Van Rob. The parents come in the circular drive, they pick up the kids there.
Ma'am, could I
the
interrupt real
buses-
quick?
Yes.
Is this related to the street that we're talking about?
Well, yeah, I'm getting there.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. The buses pick up the kids at the school, and, we're coming and going down Dietz Elkhorn. My whole concern about the safety of Dietz Elkhorn is the traffic, just the constant speeding, like everybody has said. I highly recommend speed bumps. If you're not a fan of them, I get it, neither am I, but the fact that this entire Dietz Elkhorn has 2 elementaries, we need to think about the safety of the children. I have also been present where I see school buses stop and people are going around the school buses. And I'm like this, just scared that a child's gonna get killed on Fair Oaks Parkway and on Dietz Elkhorn with police present. And I'm just going, oh my God, like, don't these people realize the buses stopped, you stop? No, and they're going around the buses. So if we can get them to slow down on Dietz Elkhorn, that is my goal because of these children. So if they're
Okay.
doing it with the cops, I mean, you can just imagine, Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Jonathan Swark. I'm a resident, and I'm not going to gripe. I'm not going to take 5 minutes. I know we're tired of hearing about this. But I had a question for Grant. So it looks like the storm ditch is most of the cost whenever you're going over that 38-foot, right? I'm assuming. So what width can you hit without having, could you do an option 1 and then have 6 foot? Option 1 is the max, so it's anything over that. Okay, yeah, that was it. And the other thing I would point out is both of those schools do have golf cart lanes, so it is kind of important to, accommodate the golf carts because they are going to be carrying kids pretty frequently in there, but that's it.
And when you describe golf cart lanes, what are you looking at?
So when you go to Fair Oaks Elementary, if you're in a golf cart, you get to go around, you know, after you get
Oh, at the
past
school, on the
Yeah,
school
at the
parking
school.
lot?
I mean,
Okay.
there's tons of golf carts going in and out of there every day, so.
Thank you. Anybody else? Good comments, and I appreciate everybody speaking up, and it's very helpful. We really don't have any motion on this, but I'll open it up.
Workshop, right.
I'll open it up for council discussion. Any follow-up from the comments that we've heard?
Well, I think at the end, we need to kind of have an idea of what to give Grant a direction. So if you don't mind, I just have a couple. I think option 1 and 3 are probably the best, and I'll, from my perspective, I'm both a person who cycles in Fair Oaks Ranch, who runs and walks, and I've tried to use Deeds Elkhorn before, trying to connect between the trails because it is supposed to be there. So I have experienced most of the things that residents have said here. I don't have a golf cart though, so, but I have observed, and I do drive on this road. Obviously, I come to City Hall quite a bit. So as a cyclist, I would not feel comfortable with option 2 or 4, especially driving past driveways, as mentioned, and riding with pedestrians. Most cyclists, they tend to go 15 to 20 miles per hour, and doing that on a road, on the side of a road, is probably the safest, especially if pedestrians are on the opposite side of the road where they should be, and or on a sidewalk. So I would not feel safe with 2 or 4, just as a cyclist. And option 3 would be okay if they actually had reasonable shoulders for people who want to ride cyclists. And I see the benefit of having a separated sidewalk for people walking, because it is a very curvy road, especially, you know, having a separate area for people who are walking. I could see the benefit of it, though I do see it's still twice the cost. Is it really worth twice the cost? Is a question I ask. And I want to keep in mind, kind of alluded to in a previous comment, was whatever we decide here, we're essentially deciding for the other side of it too, because you're not going to want to have a sidewalk to nowhere. So whatever you're doing here, it's going to look weird if the other side of Deeds Elkhorn doesn't do that. I mean, we're not voting on that, but it's going to look weird if we stop it at the Parkway and then the other side just looks completely different. So I keep that in mind, because we're not just talking about doubling the cost of this side of the road. We're also looking at the future costs on the other side of the road and how much that would entail. So I think at the end of the day, my preferred would be option 1, though I do see the benefit of option 3, and I could probably be convinced, but the dollar sign is a lot. That's just kind of my 2 cents on it. I think you know, as a pedestrian or as a runner, I would feel safer on option 3, but $3 million to me feel safer. I don't know if that's enough for me to drive a sidewalk there. And believe me, one of the reasons I joined City Council almost how many years ago, can't even count, was because I thought we needed more sidewalks. And here I am saying that. I don't need a $3 million sidewalk, though. I mean, that's essentially what we're saying here, is a $3 million sidewalk. For, what is it, a 2-mile stretch of road? 1.2. Oh, yeah. I've now talked myself out of option 3. Okay. So I like option 1. It does widen the shoulders, and right now, if you're a pedestrian on Deeds Elkhorn, really your only option is on the north side right now. You can't really do anything on the south side. It's not safe. And then everyone's over there. Right? That's why you see golf carts over there, is because the other side doesn't have enough shoulders that anyone want to use that, whether it's legal or not, Chief. I do want to state one other thing, and I know it's kind of unrelated because we're not talking about safety tonight. We're talking about reconstruction and design. But one of the benefits of having been a military spouse and a military member is I've lived, I can't tell you how many places over my entire life. And I have lived outside of a speed bump. And I will tell you, if you're worried about sound now, put a speed bump near you. It will wake you up at all hours of the day, and I could not live next to a speed bump, to the point where I refuse to live on any street that has one anytime, because of the 2 or 3 years I lived with a speed bump outside my window, waking me up at all hours of the night, every single day of the week. Because they will not slow down, they will just hit the speed bump and make a lot of noise. So just want to state that. I understand, speed bumps sound like they would work, but they just make more noise. And I've lived it. So, and I've designed my entire life around that. So that's my comments. I think if I were to prefer moving forward with option, it would be with option 1.
Yep.
Option 3,
Maybe, possibly.
it would take a lot of convincing.
I've got to throw my hat in with Laura. Frankly, I think a $3 million sidewalk is a little bit much. And just due to the fact that we have to construct an underground drainage system. I'm also a cyclist and ride around the city a lot. And I would think that option 1 gives the cyclist the benefit of moving up and down Dietz. And I'm also want to point out that golf carts should not be in the path. They're supposed to be on the road by ordinance. And people have a tendency to lose sight of that. And I'm not looking to pick a fight with the golfers. I'm the horse guy, so I don't want to, end up with a bunch of golfers sending me hate mail. But I do have a UTV that I ride in the way that it's supposed to be in the road. And I think that to build a wider shoulder to accommodate a golf cart, we're losing sight of really what we're supposed to be doing, since it's against our city ordinances anyway. So option 1 would be the way that I would prefer to go.
Option 1 for me, and I know there's a lot of golf carts that are going eastbound towards Fair Oaks Elementary. They will hold up traffic if they're driving the length of Dietz Elkhorn to the elementary. The shoulder on the south side can allow them to pull over to allow traffic to pass safely, and then they can get up back on the road. For me, option 1 is the least expensive. You're adding the shoulder on the south side, so now you're accommodating pedestrians, walkers, bikes on both sides of Dietz. I'm not in favor of really having to tear up all utilities and storm drains to have that sidewalk or shared use path. If I lived on Dietz, I would not want just that footprint closer to my house. And I'm assuming with options 2, 3, 4, if we're adding all that sidewalk or shared use path, we're probably taking out mailboxes and some driveways.
We'd have to adjust them, yes.
Yeah, so for those reasons, I'd be against any of that, and I would prefer option 1.
Go ahead.
Option 1, and I bike along the Parkway a lot. I walk, and I have that's plenty of width. The 4 or 5 feet's plenty of width for a bike. I know you mentioned there are 8-foot trails in the rim and going out, but that's going both ways. So we have 10 feet when you look at both sides of this. So you got one direction for bikers and walkers to be on this side of the road and the other. So, and I think, from a truly being cost conscious about the taxpayers' dollars, we're going to get a new road and we're going to improve the safety. And it is about safety for sure. Behavioral changes, a road's not going to change behavior. Other things are going to have to go into effect to change behavior. So I think the prudent thing is to consider option 1. The other thing is we don't really have, unless Scott, we have some kind of sidewalk, shared path, strategy in our comprehensive plan. We don't even have that. So to, I think, Laura's point of putting it on this side of Dietz and then not considering it for the next side would be a real mismatch, kind of like our HOV lane to nowhere going down I-10. It ends at 1604. It's great, and behavior hasn't changed there because you see drivers without parties in it. So for the reasons stated, I also say the option 1 is the most prudent It improves our safety, gives bikers and walkers the space they need, and takes care of the taxpayers not spending more than they should. So,
I'm in agreement with option one for the safety reasons that were specified and also for the cost benefits that have been specified. I think it provides a road that we need. One, we talked about that we do need to reconstruct this road, and I agree with that. So we take this forward to the bond. Also, in reconstructing it, if we add a little bit more safety, we're talking about 2 to 3 feet by adding an additional shoulder, and I agree with that. One of the comments that we kind of clarified it was the golf cart lane. So there are no golf cart lanes in Fair Oaks Ranch. What we have is, do what? There's a lot of golf carts.
We've done a few YouTube videos on that topic.
But a golf cart is a motor vehicle and should travel in the lane of traffic. And at times, the shoulder provides an opportunity, as Ruben stated, that they can pull over and let people pass and then pull back out. This would provide that opportunity along Dietz Elkhorn, where we do see a lot of golf cart traffic. We've all kind of hit on option one. I would like to, said that we're going to get this and we're going to move forward. Would it be possible that, because part of the comment was brought up about surveys and hearing more from others, and we do have a town hall meeting scheduled for April 9th. Yeah, reference the bond, and we are going to talk about these road projects as part of that bond. We can, I don't have a problem introducing it and saying, hey, this is, option one is the one that council probably is leaning towards, but it would be an opportunity that we could get some additional feedback from residents as part of the 4 options that you have here. And we have prices with them now, which cost with it. So I think that that may drive maybe some of the decisions differently than we saw in the recent survey. Could drive it different. And I think it'd be worth at least hearing from the residents on, before we start fully moving out on option one. Is that a, go ahead.
No, I wanted to agree with you, but I wanted to, I think it was really important for staff to look at these options. One, because that's what came out of the survey. The survey said, we would like to have this road be able to use for multimodal. And so looking at the different, at the time, we had no idea it was going to cost double the amount just to put a sidewalk in, right? Until we did this, you would never think that, right? Until we sat down and did this analysis. And now that we did, okay, while I would love to have a sidewalk, it doesn't make sense because of the cost, at least from my perspective.
Right.
And so I do appreciate that we did go through the exercise of looking at these options, taking in the feedback of the residents and seeing what could we do. But I think, like we've all agreed, we could explain to the residents at the town hall why we chose option one, even though the survey originally said, we would love to have a separate sidewalk or whatever, because I think they would agree, most likely, that while it did seem like a nice thing to do, the cost is double.
Okay. Any other comments from, good
Thank you.
comment.
No, I
Thank you.
appreciate that, no.
And I was just checking, did we answer?
Yes, I have the
Pretty good
direction I needed.
discussion.
Yes, sir.
Right, so,
Yes, ma'am, would you mind?
Pamela Polk again. Option one, cost is great. We're not really widening the street that much, which I understand. It's not doing anything for the speed. If we could maybe add a 3-way stop somewhere in this street added to this cost, would that be possible?
Yeah, I think it'd probably end up being a different issue that we'd have to address because there'd be traffic studies related to this And it would actually take an ordinance to put a stop sign in, which would be different than what we're doing. But what I can do is write down the comment, because you mentioned Nolahasi is where you'd like to
Yes.
see a three-way stop.
Yes,
And we
I
could take
think,
that on for a later time.
right. I live closer, well, I live right between Preakness and Noliasi. I think that Noliasi probably is a busier street than Preakness. Also, I think there'd be less infrastructure having to be changed on Noliasi, where Preakness, there's a house right there, a driveway, and so forth. I know for myself, since I've lived there, I've had to spend $15,000 worth of windows for the noise. I've also had to put in a circular driveway just so I could get out of my drive because of the traffic and the speeding of the traffic. And we're not really talking about the speed of this reconstruction. All we're talking about is resurfacing, actually. So that doesn't do anything for controlling people's speed. That man over there, he's laughing, I know he is, and I understand what he's saying. Right, so the only way you can help without the police officers out there in front of my house all day, which is taking up their time, is to do something else. Nobody wants speed bumps because they're too loud. So what else is there an option?
Right? Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, I think this is a great opportunity. So we've heard, not just at this meeting, but several meetings over the last few months, different residents in different situations talking about different safety issues. And I don't want to separate the safety discussion from road reconstruction, but in some ways it is kind of a different conversation because some involve, signs and sidewalks and other things. But I think the proposal I made a couple of meetings ago, and I was going to remind that we have to follow up on that, was that I feel like we have enough of demand that it's worthy of potentially creating a committee called Transportation Safety Committee, where we could take on these type of issues and have this committee bring the most important ones to council with their recommendations, and have it be a citizen advisory committee. And I do feel like as every meeting, we have multiple people coming forward with safety-related issues on the roads. That might be a good use of our time, because otherwise we'll be just picking up whatever issue as individual people come up here, rather than having a committee that is designed to address that, prioritize, look at what the most important things are, and make recommendations through staff help, of course, to bring it to council. So I feel like every meeting is validating my recommendation that we look to this.
And we have not forgotten, and it
Okay.
has been added to a future agenda to bring it back, so.
Okay, thank you. Just state again. Okay.
Which doesn't hurt. Thanks, Grant. With that, we'll move on to our next workshop item, which is a look at the results from the town hall meeting from the Gateway Feature and the Community Center.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Joanna Merrill, Director of Human Resources and Communications. And we had a recent town hall meeting back on February the 27th, where we presented items for our Gateway Feature and Community Center. And one of our goals during this process was to obtain feedback from the community on these two different projects. So today we're going to go through a presentation where we present some of those results to you, Council, for your consideration. And at the very end, we do have an ask for some direction for one of the projects. So we're going to start tonight with our Gateway Feature. Our Gateway Feature, a couple of things that we looked at as far as insights that we wanted to obtain from the survey was whether or not citizens evaluated different aspects of this Gateway Feature to include different options, different add-on features such as animal statues, lighting, location, or even historical markers. Through this, the residents rated these gateway features and designs on how well it actually represented the city of Fair Oaks Ranch, our identity. And through the insights that we gathered through that, we did see some interesting information from the main feature, which is the archway itself, and some of the other proposed items, and we'll dive into those a little bit further. Also, what we looked at was the opinions on what the community impact would be from this gateway feature, and regarding community pride, interest, identity, items like that, and then feedback for how this gateway feature would align with the city's needs now and potential future development. And then the last one that we provided as part of the survey was an option for additional comments so that our residents had the ability to give us comments that maybe we didn't specifically ask for and provide suggestions regarding our official considerations. So through that, one of the first questions that we asked was, how well does this gateway feature design represent the city's identity? And as you can see, we had several respondents, and I do want to preference that as we go through these slides, there is a different number of respondents to each of these items that we're going to show, and that's because some people chose to answer some questions and they chose to skip over others. So if you do see that difference, that's the explanation for that. In this particular one, the results out of the 245 respondents that addressed this question specifically, the average rating on here showed us an average of about 3.46. Median area is a little bit higher at 4.0. But generally, overall, as you can see, there were very positive results. It was very well received by the people who did respond to this survey question. And what we noted here is that many residents in this question were excited. They looked forward to the feature as a replacement to the old structures. And this feature also provided a very good impression, in their opinion, to entering visitors that were going through the city. It was also widely believed that it would showcase the city history, potentially, and provide positive images to represent the community kind of as a whole. Now, on the flip side of that, those that scored some in the lower areas for this question, they simply felt that this could potentially be just an unnecessary feature, and that it really wouldn't have any major impact on the community as a whole. There are some other concerns that we'll go over here in a few slides as well, but as far as this question goes, again, the overall consensus was that it was very well received and did represent the identity of the city of Fair Oaks Ranch. Now, we did also look at a couple of other things in this, in that town hall meeting and as part of the survey question, and one of those was about the location of the proposed future projects and asking questions about where the initial placement of the first gateway feature would go. So out of about 246 respondents for this particular question regarding the locations, the overall feedback was, again, very positive. It indicated that many community members were in favor of these proposed locations. So just high level, if you can't see that picture, we're proposing some at the main entryways of our thoroughfares, which is at the Parkway, at Dietz Elkhorn, and potentially Ammon Road. So those are the areas that are highlighted in yellow here. The only kind of real feedback that we got as far as this was the aesthetic placement. That was one of the concerns that came up, that aesthetically, the comments that we noted through some of these was that they just wanted to make sure it wasn't cluttered in that area. They wanted to make sure that whatever we did was functional for whichever area we placed the features on, and just again, that visual aesthetic was nice, clean, simple placements. One of the other concerns was just associated maintenance. That one didn't come up very frequently, but I did feel that it was noted, and so to just bring it to council's attention. Now, we did talk about some of the add-on features in this survey. So some of the proposed features are listed here in this graphical representation. We surveyed the respondents regarding placement of animal features, which in this instance applied to our Hereford cow that was in the presentation, and potentially vice versa, one or the other, either or, horses as well. We also surveyed regarding lighting for the feature itself and whether or not the community had interest in placing a historical marker for this gateway feature. Interestingly, as you can see from the graph, I'll just highlight some of these. The lighting and historical markers received relatively the highest interest levels from the community. Those were the most suggested and the most favored throughout the community. And then conversely, on the opposite end, if you see our highlighted graph items there in red, the cows and the horses had the lowest amount of interest when we surveyed our respondents. Now, in particular, between the animal features, the cows were the lowest rated of the animal feature structures, and interestingly, the most favored was the archway itself. So kind of generally, I think it's safe to say that the animal structures were not favored as well, but the feature itself was very well received, along with the lighting and the potential for placing historical markers at this site. Some of the feedback that we got suggested that the arch really suggested a strong community interest. It had a very distinctive and possibly iconic entrance, replacing some of those old features that we used to have. If you're a historical member of the ranch, you'll remember some of those, the boat, the tower. There was lots of positive feedback for the historical marker, and really one of the concerns that did kind of reoccur through this was the possibility that the feature might be distracting or potentially hazardous to wildlife. And I do believe that when we looked at those feedback comments, it was regarding the fencing and whether like deer would have to jump over it kind of as an obstacle. But the gateway, the arch feature itself, the main item was very, very well received. So to kind of summarize a lot of the feedback that we received for the gateway feature, the overall design, the sentiment, when I say it was neutral and consistent, what that means is there weren't a lot of strongly opposing feelings in any one of these areas in general. Even though we did had a most liked and a most preferred and things like that, the ratings were very consistent on average, and they rated around the 3-ish area. So on a scale from 1 to 5, on the average, people kind of rated it right in the middle. They liked it. They didn't dislike it very strongly or anything like that. So it was very neutral, very positive through the whole survey. Other items for the community impact, again, this was very moderate in what we saw in the results, but people were generally very optimistic and were positive of the overall idea of having a feature, and they suggested that there were some positive outlooks for the potential benefits of identifying the community and distinguishing Fair Oaks Ranch from surrounding smaller cities like Bernie. Sorry, I pushed it too fast. Then, of course, some of the bigger concerns, it was a theme that we saw, were some financial concerns. It was a recurring item that came up as to what the financial aspects were going to be. That's obviously something that we didn't present at this meeting just yet because we're not in that phase of the project. But they did highlight a desire for transparency and justification of the project and whether that's where the city should spend its money. Some differing opinions on the different features. Again, we had some pretty clear feedback that maybe the animal features weren't on everybody's top list there. But as far as everything else, the other ones were very positive and well received. So that kind of concludes that one. Is there any questions on the gateway feature responses before I move on to the next phase?
I just have a quick question. So Mayor, coming out of this, since the gateway feature has its own committee, Did you want us, Scott and I, to take this feedback back to our committee and come back to council? Or does council want to give us recommendation off of this feedback, and then the committee can take the direction that way? Because at the end of the day, we would come back with a more detailed drawing or cost estimate based off of whichever one we felt came out of the community survey. But how would you like us to handle it? I mean, we could take it back as committee.
Yeah, and I think that would be the fair part, since we don't have all the committee members here, is allow that opportunity to take it back to the committee and allow them to hear it, and then come back with a recommendation on how to move forward.
Okay, so we'll
to
schedule a
council.
follow-up committee meeting and with this feedback and come back to council. Okay,
Is that fair?
that sounds fair.
All right.
Thank you.
Fantastic. All right, so.
Hey, Joanna.
Yes.
So I was up running around.
That's okay.
Let me just put out a quick announcement. There is a big storm that's rolling through right now that we're on the verge of. Laura showed me a possible tornado warning related to it. And I was just looking, there is hail and heavy rain that is coming with it. We ought to be on the verge of it right now. So I just want to make everybody here we're not going to adjourn yet because I don't think there's anything serious that's been identified. Has there, Chief?
Yes, sir. We haven't received any National Weather Service alerts to the radio or through dispatch right now. I did just check, and the only thing is showing a warning for is about 0.75 of an inch hail. And it is a very small storm, moving pretty quick and pretty heavy. That's why they're giving that tornado watch as a precaution.
Okay.
So, but we're not seeing anything right now that indicates anything like that.
We're going to drive on, but I just want to make everybody here aware of it so that if you wanted that opportunity to leave to beat the storm, the opportunity would be now. All right, thanks.
As we drive on.
But don't speak.
All right, so I'll try to go through this quickly then. So the community center is the other item that was at the town hall on February 27th, and this one is one that I will be asking council for some direction for, so that the public works team and the architect that are on this project have some guidance on where to go next. So through this one, we definitely looked a lot of the same items as far as whether or not the ranch aesthetic, these projects were in line with the City of Fair Oaks Ranch's identity. And citizens evaluated different design drafts for this community center, and they did prefer the designs that aligned with the ranch's aesthetic and community vibe versus those that they perceived that didn't. As the identity, the residents rated the chosen community center design on how well it represented that overall kind of look. Some of the insights that we gathered regarding this, one of them was whether or not we wanted to enhance city-sponsored events at this venue, to use that as an opportunity to bring residents together. And differing opinions on the rental and facility usage. So whether or not, one of the questions was whether or not we allow non-residents to rent the space at this potential community center, and what they felt that impact would be on them as residents. We also looked at other items of community impact for how this is going to align with the city's current needs and with our future development needs as well. And then again, we also opened up for additional comments because we also wanted to know what was important to the community at that point for council's consideration. So kind of where we started was right to the nitty gritty. We wanted to know which one of these three options that was presented at that town hall meeting did the community have the highest interest in? And so this question, which was the most preferred? We had 242 respondents in this one, and the gable roof option was the most preferred option in this particular question. I do also want to preface again that this is like the other survey question where we also asked the least, so you'll see some differences in the ratings. Again, this was just the respondents' feedbacks regarding which one was their favorite. So their favorite was the gable roof, their second favorite was the monitor, and then their least favorite, according to this particular question and the way it was worded, was the hip roof design. Now, reasons for the design choice on this one, what we saw back for why they chose this one as their most preferred design. On average, it scored fairly high, between a 4 and a 5 on that rating scale we discussed a little earlier. And what we heard was that this gable roof design was perceived to just be more in line with the community's overall aesthetic. The community members also perceived that this design was the most cost-effective, even though we don't actually have any cost data at this time. That was the perception, was that the simplistic design would most likely be the most cost-effective of the options presented. And then they also preferred it because it was simpler. It was more streamlined in appearance, and it offered clean and elegant style to the structures. Now, this is the flip side of the question that we just looked at for which one was the most preferred. This one was which one was the least preferred. And these are really just looking at people's strong opinions either way. So for the most preferred, the strongest opinion in that area, again, was the gable roof design. But if you look at this, these percentages and numbers are a little bit different. We had fewer people respond to this question overall, with only about 236 respondents. And in this one, the monitor design, even though it was the second most liked in the other question, it actually was the least preferred out of the three when you posed it as a standalone question. So we did find that very interesting to see how closely the gable roof option and the monitor roof design were in between these two questions. Because if you see, the next largest section, this 33%, is the gable roof design. So while they were the two most preferred, they were also the two strongly least preferred as far as how close they were. So it's a weird way that worked out. That's not something that we would typically see, but it is very interesting to note that between those two, people had very strong feelings for how much they liked it, but they also had very strong feelings adversely for how much they disliked both of those as well. Some of the responses as far as the monitor design and what they didn't prefer in it one is they did feel through the comments and the feedback that the monitor's design was just very outdated, and it was the least visually and aesthetically appealing across those comments. While on the flip side of that, for the gable roof option, some of the reasons why it was on the least preferred list as that second one was that it was too simplistic and plain, but then it was also outdated. And kind of what we saw as a recurring theme in that one was that it almost looked too similar to the other designs for the buildings on campus. But again, the least preferred is the monitor design at this point from the feedback that we received. Now, the other question that I alluded to earlier was whether or not, or what to do with the rental space potential for the community center in regards to whether or not we let non-residents use this facility. And out of the respondents, whether they said yes, non-residents should use this, or no, they shouldn't. As you can see, we have a clear, over half of the respondents said that no, they preferred that we did not use our community center for non-residents, while only 36% of them said that they were interested in that. The impact for that decision really focused around the potential for generating revenue. That's where you see that they're close, but they're also kind of far away. But those were some of the considerations. The people who did want it thought that it would be a revenue generator for the city, and so that's one of the reasons they preferred it. Whereas adversely, the respondents who said no to it felt that it would increase facility usage, which might decrease the community's ability to use it versus outside people. Some other things that we kind of went through was the community space centered as well. That was one of the reasons that they didn't want non-residents to use the rental space was because they felt, again, that an increase in allowing non-residents to use this community space would decrease a resident's ability for availability. Now, community events, this was one we just kind of threw in a generally open-ended question here, and we asked if there was an interest to see more community events at the community center. And as you see, we did have quite a few respondents on this one as well. 71% did prefer that we do community events here. And specifically, there was a high interest shown in community engagement events. So some of the examples that we received through the comments, through those open-ended feedbacks, was they wanted additional speakers to host events at this community center for historical, cultural presentations, possibly doing our Oat Wilk educational programs there as well. And even some touched on wanting safety awareness and community awareness training that they wanted to see held possibly in this community center. Other things that I think council has already addressed was the potential for that to be a voting location. Potential for that to be where we hold political forums, such as the city council meetings, potential meet and greets, and then our upcoming town halls and future items of that nature. And then some interesting ones that came through was we had some feedback for special city anniversaries, which was one that I myself had not thought about. But we are going to be seeing some city anniversaries here in the next few years as well, and then holiday events. So as you know, we do provide a lot of holiday items. I think we recently did an Easter Bunny one. We do some at Christmas time, but there was some interest in hosting more holiday-related events at our community center. Now, as far as impacts to the community, there was definitely an interest in this one in a positive manner. There was a lot of positive feedback from this one. The community center was anticipated and seen to be serving a social need in our community. So a lot of what the residents said was that it could provide space for different community interactions, events, activities, and really go a long way to promote community engagement and cohesion throughout the city of Fair Oaks Ranch. It could be used as a hub, and really a lot of the recurring themes in what we saw here was that they saw a potential for building a binding force within the city of Fair Oaks Ranch that would foster connections among residents, encourage just that sense of belonging to the city, of having that focal point and place to go and to congregate. Now, some diverse viewpoints here as well that we were looking at is the responses underscored kind of the significance of the community center as a catalyst for some of these things. So while we did have a lot of people say, hey, they really did believe it was going to foster all these, provide a lot of these opportunities, we also had the flip side of that, that it might not be the catalyst that we all think it might be. And then just in trying to get a variety of different options in here, some of the themes that did come up when they were talking about how this could serve as that forum to build community engagement, the kitchen came up. So we did have some people that were interested in seeing us build a full kitchen in this space so that it could open up the variety to different events that they were interested in hosting. Now, concerns, I think this is probably one that we're very interested in. The most recurring concerns, interestingly enough, was the parking, right? The parking and the cost. As far as the preference goes, there were not as many actual concerns out of the 240-ish, responses, give or take, on average. Only 25 respondents voiced strong concerns. Sorry, there were more than that overall. There were about 41-ish, 45-ish total respondents with concerns. And out of those 40, 25 of them showed that these were their main concerns. So that's why we highlighted them as most reoccurring. So the size of the current parking lots was definitely on the forefront for everybody. But along with that, budget and cost came up very frequently, that mainly it was just a comment as far as to ensure that we're keeping the budget as modest as possible, that there were a few suggestions maybe to reduce size if different, whether that was the building or not, it didn't say, just to reduce size as far as the cost to what we're looking at and whether or not that was critically needed. Concerns with the taxpayer money was also definitely a big one. Questioning whether the need for the community center was worth the expense that it was going to be causing when we do have other infrastructure projects that might be more pressing in their opinion. Now, decision-making and community input, we did also look for this, and really there was just a call for transparency about the costs and whether or not we would be able to provide all those financial costs and concerns going forward. And I think that actually goes into this slide as well. So again, those were the two major concerns that just really showed prevalent. The parking was the most reoccurring, and the financial side of that, not as prevalent, but as you can see, it was still quite high based on the number of concerns that we actually did receive, and those were related around those financial aspects. And then, of course, we have just some quotes in here from direct items that we noted. Now, overall, the summary, again, the majority fabled the gable roof design for those reasons that it was aesthetically appealing. The architecture was nice and consistent with our existing buildings, and the perception that it was going to be the most cost-effective of the three different options that were presented. Now, the community events, again, there was really a strong support for seeing more of that. And in those different forums that we discussed, those town hall meetings, fundraisers, events, just kind of that focus around the community and build that fellowship. Other than that, positive information regarding the potential for binding our community to have kind of a central place for them to meet, for them to organize, and again, financial and parking, just as a summary, those were the two big ones. Now, overall, from this, does council have any questions about any of the feedback that we received from the survey responses?
Will the raw results be posted somewhere?
That's a great question.
What results?
The raw results.
So the raw results, I did attempt to put them into a digestible format, and I say I mean I had my multimedia communications officer make that attempt. It is a little difficult to do. We definitely can put up some results.
It's fine if it's yes or no. I just wanted to know the answer. I'm not asking.
So the answer is yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can put them up. It just may not be very pretty.
I am not asking for you to do that. I'm just asking if you had planned to do that.
So I did not plan to put those up.
Okay, that was all my question was.
Any other questions?
There's no real parking fix, is there?
Not immediately.
Okay.
You have a question? Okay.
I didn't vote on this because I never saw it, or I would have voted on it. But I like everything about it. It's really, really, really nice. You did a great presentation. My question to you is, I guess, so obviously the concern is the parking. Did y'all consider doing a 2-tier parking? That was just my question.
So I'm definitely not the expert on the project itself, so I will turn that question over to our Public Works Director, Grant. So he said that it was not considered in the overall design.
So what do they need? Do they need?
Results of the survey, so I don't know that there's anything.
The question was asked early on. We did not study it all just because we know that when you get into parking structures, it's a very, very costly endeavor. So we did not explore it.
Were there any other questions from anybody? Yes, sir.
Just going back to the gateway feature, it kind of seems like, you know, for the community center, we had a lot of options to pick from, but for the gateway feature, it was like, you like this arch? Is it pretty? Okay, good. Do you want that with a side of cows or horses? You know, and that was it. You know, and I talked to Ruben about this a little bit, and Scott some too, but I don't know, maybe we should poll the community on, do you want to be represented as a ranch, right? And like I was telling Ruben, you know, I didn't really move here because it was a ranch. I moved here because it was a lot of intelligent people here. You know, you can talk to anybody about molecular biology or physics or anything. You can find all these topics here, and they kind of merge here. And it's interesting that the concept of the lighting was like the most responded to on there. Like that's what they really care about, you know. And it just seems like we're kind of like a lighthouse. You know, if you showed me a lighthouse, I'd be like, yeah, let's do that, you know, over the arch maybe. And maybe the committee could consider some other things other than arches, I guess, is what I'm getting at here. So
Just as a kind of a point, Jonathan, we're working as a committee.
I understand.
So, and it's a committee that included citizens, and we took that charge, you know, pretty reasonably to see what the voice of the people in the form of the committee were put together, and we just presented that for everybody's consideration.
Right, absolutely. And I
So
think
it
it was.
wasn't, I just didn't want you to think that we just pulled it out of a
Yeah,
vacuum
yeah,
and
absolutely.
said,
But
here, eat this.
I think more what I'm saying is maybe just a few different options coming out of the committee other than just the arch and then, you know, side of cows or side of horses.
So moving forward, Joanna, is there anything that you need from this?
Yes.
What
So overall, what we are looking at as far as direction is, and mainly it's on this community center, is which one of these three options, based on the feedback that council has heard tonight, if you're able to, at this point, provide direction to Grant and the Public Works team and the architects so they know which design concept to focus on and start building those costs out for, I believe.
Is there any advantage getting that information to you tonight? Preference would be that we re-add this to a future agenda and have that discussion. But see, you know, we've just seen the results of the surveys and would like an opportunity to go through those. And plus it would give us an opportunity to meet with some of the residents and confirm the information that we have. And then we can come back and provide, I guess you'd be looking, if we want to further develop gable roof, is that really what you're looking for?
Yeah, that's the short answer. I mean, there's the only downside is time, right? So essentially our consultant is on hold until we give them direction on the design, and that's okay. We just have to understand that we'll adjust the timetable accordingly in the manner it takes to make a decision.
All right. I mean, maybe 2 weeks. We could probably add it on to the next council meeting. And then, so we have the results now. Are we going to post these results on the website, next door, so that everybody gets to see the results?
So I guess that's what I need to know from you guys. If that's what you want, we can definitely figure out a way to post information out there. We can figure out how to get it on the city website. If that's maybe, that actually might probably be a better place to house it and just direct our social media posts back to this. We do have our ongoing projects page and our town hall community events, so we can add information into there, including this presentation. So we can definitely make options for getting this information out to the community.
The survey's closed, correct?
It is. That is correct. We closed the survey on, I believe, March the 13th.
Mayor, I think we did promise that to the residents that attended the town hall, that we would post the results.
Problem.
Yep. We'll figure it out.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Summer, you want to talk to us about the popular finance report? We move into reports. We have two reports tonight. First is a review of the popular finance report.
Yes, and it'll be quick. So I am presenting the Popular Annual Financial Report, or the PAFR, for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2023. This report is really a supplement to the annual comprehensive financial report that was discussed earlier tonight. So the PAFR is designed to provide readers with a less detailed overview of the city's financial activities. So we extract selected financial data from the ACIFR into this report. We do submit the report to GFOA's award program and have received the PAFR award for the last 2 fiscal years, along with the budget and ACIFR awards, which have earned the department Triple Crown status. I'm going to scroll through the pages, but I promise it'll be quick. So the report starts with an explanation of what the report is. We go into statistical data about the city and the different departments. We give a brief history of the ranch, and then we get into the financial activity. We provide current and 2 years prior history for revenues and expenses separated by governmental activities and utility activities. We go into an analysis of governmental revenues and then give more detailed information on the major revenue sources, such as property tax, sales tax, franchise fees. It scrolls kind of slow, sorry. There's a short narrative on the governmental expenditures by function so that readers can see where funds are spent. And then we have a page for utility revenues, expenses, and utility major projects. We provide a page for citywide debt and total capital assets for the city. And then lastly, just a chart showing the city's total net position over the last 5 years. So really the goal of this report is to convey relevant financial information in a short, condensed manner using
The mic died.
The mic.
Lost the mic.
That's why I'm trying to talk louder.
Luckily, Chief's next.
Other financial reports, and then we have printed copies in the City Hall lobby for residents and guests. That's it. On the website and printed in the City Hall lobby.
Any other comments from council? I'd just like to comment on the overall usefulness of the report. And, you know, I know it's supposed to be a simplistic, more simple version of the budget, the report laid out. And as I was going through it, I mean, it's the way y'all laid it out and the way you put together, it's very easy to understand and to tie different topics together from my perspective. And we even deal with the budget and get to see some of the accounting methodology behind it. But just appreciate all the effort that y'all really put into it to make sure that we have a good report that we can get out to residents to really understand what we're doing here at the city level.
Thank you.
Any other comments or? Thanks, Summer. And then we have a report on the eclipse and eclipse preparation. Chief Mooring.
Good evening, Council. Just a quick update. That storm has pretty much passed by us. The strongest part of it is down in San Antonio and Lotus. So, this is a quick update on the upcoming eclipse, April 8th, excuse me. I'm pretty sure everybody's heard about it, but it's a total solar eclipse. Event starts around 12:14 p.m. and goes all the way through to about 2:55 p.m. This one's slightly different than the last one. This one's going from southwest up to northeast, and it's about 115 miles wide, a little bit closer to our area. The totality of the eclipse for the center line there, which is right over the top of Kerrville, Texas, is about 4 minutes and 28 seconds. For our area here, it will be closer to about 3 minutes and 30 seconds. There are some significant differences between the October annular eclipse that we experienced and the one coming up. This is a much rarer event, being that the next one similar to this in the United States will be in 2045, and the one following that would be 2078. So we do expect a higher number of people traveling to this area to experience this eclipse. Some safety considerations, basic safety considerations. If you're considering going out into the public and watching it, make sure that you have permission to be on whatever property you are on. And I do remind people that even though the parking lot does not have any type of barriers, it can be considered private property if it's a private business, and they can ask you to leave. But we're telling people, don't leave your home if you don't have to. I mean, you can see the eclipse from your backyard just as well as you can from the field down the street. With the increase in visitors to the area, supplies, local grocery stores can become sparse, as well as gas stations. So we are suggesting that residents try to stock up on their food products, necessities, and waters in the days prior to April 8th, which is a Monday. If you do have something scheduled for that day that you cannot rearrange that schedule, allow yourself extra time to travel, even if it's into San Antonio and to Bernie. We do expect a higher number of vehicles on the roadway. When you are driving, especially around the times of the eclipse from about 12 o'clock till about 3 p.m., we do ask that you use extra caution if you are on the roadway, because there's a better chance of people being outside looking up and not looking at cars. So. Just like don't eat Tide Pods, don't look directly at the sun without glasses, eye protection, okay? Don't know why we have to say that, but there are ratings for the glasses that you can get. Make sure it has that ISO rating from NASA. And a couple of places that you can obtain glasses if you haven't gotten it yet. The Bernie Visitor Center started giving away free glasses on March 18th, and they're limiting them to 4 per family. The Patrick Heath Public Library in Bernie is giving away them. Started on March 11th, and they're giving away 5 per family. Outside of that, we have several other places that you can either purchase the glasses or they're giving away for free. A couple of those will be like H-E-B, Home Depot, and Bernie. A couple other businesses in Bernie and around. So you'll see a lot of our communications directing you back to the Bernie Eclipse website from the City of Bernie website. That's where we're coordinating with the City of Bernie and Kendall County Emergency Management as one source of information for everybody. So some of the things that we're doing here for Fair Oaks, we are increasing the number of officers here. Luckily, they did close school for that day, so we do have 2 SROs available. We are bringing in additional personnel, and we'll have roughly a total of about 12 people here, which includes me and Lieutenant. Leon Springs, and speaking with Chief Ramon, they are evaluating whether they can staff Station 420, which is the Meadow Creek Station. But they are bringing in extra staff for the new station there on Ralph Fair and the station over by Bernie Airfield. Was actually speaking with the manager of Acadian EMS. He'll be getting with his leadership team tomorrow to see if we can dedicate an Acadian unit to the city, at least for the few hours before and after the eclipse. And he'll let me, or get confirmation to me tomorrow on that. Outside of that, we are continuing mutual aid with Bernie PD and Kendall County Emergency Management. Bernie PD is the location of the Emergency Operations Center for Kendall County. All the communications for emergency operations and information will be flowing through there. So based on some of the meetings that we've had prior to, They will staff the EOC, which is the training room there at Bernie PD, with additional personnel, including telecommunicators that are going to answer the non-emergency line versus the emergency line. They are bringing in additional personnel to answer standard phone calls into the city. Both Kendall County and the city of Bernie are sending all non-essential personnel home for that day. They're closing their offices. The communications center for the city of Bernie, Chris Shadrock, will be there at the EOC coordinating with Chief Perez on any information that they need to push out through that website. So, speaking with our communications team earlier, they have that contact information. So if something happens, excessive traffic, which we're really expecting at the end of the eclipse on I-10 that might divert traffic through our city, we'd be able to push that information over to Chief Perez. They'll update the website, and then our communications team will follow on that. So, outside of that, Kerrville, we did get a mutual aid request from the city of Kerrville. They are expecting between 100,000 and 150,000 visitors for the eclipse event. So they requested 25 additional officers from the ACOG region. Last I checked, they were able to fill those. But our extra staffing here, and why we're bringing in even more than that, is to be able to supplement areas of Kendall County or Bernie if they get overwhelmed with visitors or situations. So we're having enough staff here to cover our city, maintain our response times and our emergency services, but as well assist our local agencies there too. I don't have that website up here, but that website is the City of Bernie website. And if you Google City of Bernie and Bernie Eclipse, then it'll direct you right there. They have a lot of that information as far as where you can obtain glasses, some suggested things to do beforehand. We do know that HEB, both HEB here, which I hesitate to say HEB Fair Oaks, but the one here at the end of Dietz, and the HEB in Bernie is bringing in 2 extra trailers for bottled water and essential food products. TxDOT is taking some steps to mitigate some issues there. Also, all construction projects for I-10 corridor between San Antonio and Kerrville are being stopped for the day. They're opening lanes as they can, and they're authorizing additional Hero trucks to be able to extend beyond their service area up to Comfort. Also, they are paying off-duty officers to work the major intersections like 46 and 10, and one of the major ones there in Kerrville to help with traffic flow. We do have set up several things as far as life flight staging centers. We do have a couple designated areas for life flight to land in case we need to have them land. Bernie Methodist is bringing 1 helo unit at least to the Bernie Methodist. I'm not sure if they're getting that second one. We haven't gotten that confirmation yet. And as far as the hotel and RV rates for the area, which the Bernie Chamber of Commerce has been monitoring for the past couple of months, currently there's still about a 60% availability for Sunday before the eclipse for hotels in Bernie. All the RV parks are full. And for that Monday, it's about a 36% availability, which is a good sign. We are expecting those to be 0% because there's still availability there. We think that most people are going to travel a little bit further towards Kerrville to get that center line. But we anticipate the issues that we have here in this area will be at the end of the eclipse when everybody's trying to come back towards the metro area. So, do you have any questions?
Good rundown. Any questions from anybody here tonight for Chief? Thanks, Chief. 2 weeks? Over 2 weeks, is that right? 3 weeks. That completes the reports that we had for tonight, and move on to requests and announcements. Does any council member have any announcements for tonight's meeting?
Reminder of Forja's Easter egg scramble, March 23rd. I believe it's this Saturday, 2 to 3:30 p.m. Vestal Park. Registration required. I guess visit the Forja website or give them a call.
Anybody else? I had a couple of announcements. I did talk earlier about the town hall meeting related to the bond. It'll be on April 9th. It'll be at the Spring Creek United Methodist Church at 6:30 p.m. And this will be to talk about the general obligation bond, which will be on the up for the city elections, which will come up in May. The town hall meeting will really provide the information on each of the road reconstruction projects, and we'll also talk about the impact on the property tax rate. Second is a reminder to all that April 4th, 2024 is the last day to register to vote or make changes to your registration to be effective for the May 4th, 2024 city election. And the city of Fair Oaks Ranch was recently notified of ongoing TxDOT resurfacing project on FM 3351, Ralph Fair Road. They started at the Cibolo Creek and they're moving north. And as they're doing this, they are closing the road, one lane of the road from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m., just to make everybody aware. And then in the city, we do have a road closure scheduled for March 27th. This will be affecting Fair Oaks Parkway. It'll be a one-night closure as SAWS will be installing the bypass wastewater line across Fair Oaks Parkway. And during the time that they're doing this, they'll be diverting traffic up to Leslie Pfeiffer, back and forth on Leslie Pfeiffer to get from the access road to Fair Oaks Parkway. But it will happen on the March 27th. They'll be closing the road between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. The police department just began accepting applications for the Junior Police Academy. 29th of March is Good Friday. City Hall will be closed on Good Friday. And the last announcement is that Post Oak Trail is open for two-way traffic now. They completed the asphalting of the road, I think it was yesterday. I drove it today, it's nice. They got all the culverts cleaned out. They got some cleanup to do, but overall they did a great job.
I think that covers it.
Is that enough? Does any council member have any actions that they want to add to a future agenda? So I do have the one that Laura brought up that will relook the requirement for real property ownership as part of being on the P&Z. This was in paragraph 2.2 of the Rules of Procedures. Anybody else? Okay. And I'm not aware of any requirements to go into executive session tonight.
No, sir.
All right. And Christina, anything that we missed or anything we need to cover or pick up or?
No, sir.
All right, Scott,
Complete.
anything from you or? I have the time now is 9:12 and we are adjourned.